I was in a tiny church in Tuscany and I saw this image as a potential subject for a new painting. I just loved the way the lighting of the flicker of the candles and the hand reaching out to light a candle. When everything happened to us in March and people were suffering so, it just took on an entirely different meaning. So when we light a candle and say a prayer, we are looking for something to transition into a better understanding and a new beginning.
Nightscapes symbolizes the light and darkness and shows that beauty and new beginnings are everywhere, even when you can't see them. With every night there is a rising sun and the chance for a new beginning.
The pandemic has rekindled a new spirit in my life and artwork. It has powerfully refocused what I value most in my life. Ascension is a tribute to the lives lost to the pandemic. Flowers represent emotion and gratitude. They flow up through the field of blue, representing faith, gently floating into the afterlife, reflecting on new reality, our new beginning. I must now find new ways of communicating, a new beginning, which represents hope, faith, and love.
My work symbolizes my new beginning as I devote less time to my career and more time to printmaking. I am exploring challenging techniques, including reduction lino cuts and other methods of relief printing, and this parallels the challenging times we are living in. My work expresses interactions between the natural world and human environments, and I hope as we come out of this pandemic, we will establish a healthier relationship between the natural world and our human environment.
New beginnings present an opportunity to shift your mindset. It is easy to dwell in negative thinking, so by focusing on practicing gratitude over anxiety, I work on envisioning a new beginning every day. Warrior is my representation of releasing negativity and living in the present, appreciating that times are tough, but with age comes a wisdom that we will prevail. I wanted this piece to convey movement of thoughts and celebrate new beginnings and the warrior in us all.
Bringing the focus of my subject matter to our immediate contemporary culture comprised a new beginning and expanded my artwork's power, ambition, and ability to connect with the world outside my studio. This change allows me to express the cross currents that are pulsing through. I've collected images that convey meaning, particularly when abstracted and combined together as the basis for the work. My strong color sense helps to give the final images the force with which to make connection.
This work was created as an attempt to enliven a two-dimensional painting as three dimensions. The subject for the assemblage is a previously created painting of mine with similar visual elements. This is a new direction for me as I move from the flat surface of the canvas to creating sculpture.
My left leg was amputated a few years ago. I needed a new beginning. I remembered my mother teaching me how to sew when I was young. Why not do something with that knowledge? I joined a quilting organization and learned the craft through them. Quilting brought a new life to me. It helped me through hard times. I have now displayed my work in library galleries across Long Island and get great pleasure in the positive comments that I have received.
I spent my working life as an advertising art director and graphic designer. After retiring, I started painting full-time, doing mostly contemporary still life. I paint fruit, vegetables, close-ups of candy, toys, dolls, and anything else that catches my eye. I have come to realize that each day is a new beginning.
Leaving my country at 50 years of age, I resigned from my 23 years old Job in the Supreme Court of Justice was not easy at all, especially when I say goodbye to my family and friends. Everything changed, and now in this country there is a new beginning, signed through art. I express many of the feelings that I carry with me.
This watercolor is of a garden pack of violas. Spring is naturally a time for new beginnings and renewal, but the pandemic and being on pause made me feel stuck, not creatively, but emotionally. In the beginning, I found that I had no energy for big ideas, but I could make small paintings of small things, and in this way begin again.
In my work, I endeavor to offer the viewer, as well as myself, a place of beauty, of refuge, of hope, and of escape in which to wander. New beginnings take many forms: the dawn of a new day and a new era, the escape and hope in a dream of a better world, the freshness and clarity that will hopefully come after the storm of the pandemic passes.
The predominant color in my paintings that I submitted is yellow, which evokes thoughts of morning and optimism of a new beginning. The paintings are bright, vibrant, and the imagery bounces with joy and positive energy. The paintings predict not only new beginnings, but also celebrations of life, love, friendship, and new art to come.
For me, new beginnings is what the post-pandemic world would feel like emotionally and physically. I have always been inspired by the juxtaposition of the grids of New York City, where I live, and nature. My art represents the yearning for calmness in the calamity and destruction that we are living through now.
I am late to painting. I was a newspaper photographer and writer-editor for 42 years. I have painted perhaps 180 works since 2014. Imagination in this exhibit reflects staying at home during this time of virus. The color-filled bars are walls in the house to be overcome, a new beginning.
Society reveres the young and is attracted to the shiny and new. But stop and look around for the treasures in our midst, old and weathered, discarded and forgotten. Do not count me out, for I am still standing and have stories to tell. The textures of my skin, the wisdom and strength of my years, and the colors of my heart are riches meant to be shared, making each day a discovery and a new beginning.
Rather than dwell on the COVID-19 pandemic and my now sequestered life, I decided to create a new series of works inspired by previously completed paintings. The Optimist is the first stepping stone along my path for development utilizing more open patterning and monochromatic color planes. The Optimist is the first painting completed during my isolation. This work represents a new beginning for me.
My figures range from circus clowns to the ghoulish and spooky. Yet what connects them all is a smirk, a grin, and a smile. Their upturned lips seem to embrace an upbeat attitude with which I try to tackle the obstacles of aging in times of a global crisis and the virus.
Because of illness and old age, I put aside my lifelong passion for photography. The challenge of submitting to this exhibition offered a new beginning, and the photograph itself represents a new way of seeing. Where previously I would have aimed for a literal rendering, this image suggests the world is more than a literal reality, that life is colored by emotion and imagination.
The work I created after the quarantine included the coronavirus itself, the round ball with protruding proteins called hemagglutinin. How could such a wacky image create so much fear? Sometimes I imagined the virus as a roly-poly shape just tumbling along. Even in the most idyllic situations, it could be lurking to attach and attack. The coronavirus was our new unseen enemy.
At the outset of the pandemic, I was overwhelmed and anxiety-ridden. I reached out to a fellow artist and started painting together on FaceTime. Through this process, I started working again and created work that was emotionally infused with the virus. After I got through that, I created this work. It is new for me in many ways. There are clusters of colors, new combinations, and a depth that evolved from the immobilization I was experiencing. This is a positive outcome of a very stressful time.
I'm a mixed media installation artist, painter, and jewelry designer. I usually work in a series which allows me to flesh out my subject matter. But now I have found that abandoning myself to my varied interests and working more abstractly allows me to experiment more with my materials. This is a new direction for me as I'm trying to reimagine a new identity for myself and a new way of working in a post-COVID-19 world.
Do you know what a chortle is? When you chuckle and snort at the same time. Lewis Carroll did many of these in his Jabberwocky poem, and I'm trying to do visually in my creature paintings. Every painting is a new beginning, and every beginning is new, and my new beginning creatures are about joy and hope for what's to come next.
The collage Woman with a Fork expresses my feeling of being consumed by the pandemic. It demonstrates the process of my fight to exist.
Earth to earth, this is the cycle of life. Each fall, trees shed their leaves and remain bare through the stillness of winter, and then in the spring, rebirth or new beginnings, hope. Trees represent many symbolic aspects such as renewal, beauty, strength, and stability, to name a few. A widespread symbol of the tree is the tree of life, rooted in earth with its branches and leaves, giving shade and home to many creatures. Each year the cycle begins again, perhaps fuller and more extravagant than the year before.
New Beginnings. This series of paintings was created during the pandemic while living in Brooklyn, New York. Everything changed due to the pandemic. I began working from home, ordering masks, hand sanitizer, and food in bulk. I was in lockdown mode. Every trip outside my apartment door was suspect for virus attack. I painted and released my fears onto canvas. I will emerge from this a changed person, a more politically aware, socially and culturally more attuned. I'm ready to embrace this new role of a more responsible person, a directional pivot.
I just retired and I'm starting a new beginning with my art, which has been on hold for more years than I want to think about. Too burnt out and lack of time created the hiatus. Long ago, nature, trees and plants especially, was my muse, with a few wanderings into still life in landscapes, all somewhat realistically or abstracted. A design with nature in mind is my first new piece of pure design, beginning with lines and shapes.
My life has been a series of new beginnings. Architect, restaurant owner, antiques dealer, writer, illustrator. 15 years ago, I began to do brush painting and had my first show. This painting is one of a series on a pandemic that seems to epitomize new beginnings. How we process this time of heartache, isolation, will determine the future we have together.
My name is Rita Rovery. I'm a self-taught artist. The work is inspired by my love of the ocean. I'm lifted by the colors, the ebb and flow of the tide, and the sand between my toes. Splash streams as the tide rushes over you and washes all the troubles away. Hope is renewed to rejoice in a new beginning of a new day.
I started these driftwood pieces a few summers ago to break away from what I usually do, landscape painting. I have a basic idea when I start, but I'm never sure what the result will be. It's like working on a jigsaw puzzle with only half a picture as a guide. I like that feeling of relying more on instinct and spontaneity rather than a familiar formula. The results are always surprising and new.